There is a coffee can on a shelf in a garage somewhere, and it is full of eggshells. Rinsed, dried, crushed by hand over the sink all through the winter, because that is what you do. In May, they went into the bottom of every planting hole, one careful handful at a time. And in July, the tomatoes came in with a black, sunken patch on the bottom of every single one. This happens in millions of American gardens every summer, and every summer the gardener does the same thing. They look at the ruined fruit and they assume the fault was theirs. Not enough shells. Crushed too coarse. Started too late. What nobody tells them is that the shells were never going to work. Not because of anything they did, because the advice itself is not true, and it has not been true for as long as anyone has been repeating it. There is a horticulturist at Washington State University who has spent more than 20 years testing the things gardeners are told, one claim at a time, and publishing what actually happened in the soil. Her name is Linda Chalker Scott, and what she and the University Extension Labs have found is that 5 of the most repeated pieces of garden advice in America do not do what they promise. Some of them do nothing at all. 2 of them can make your plants worse, and 1 of them can make you sick. Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. This story does not start with a corporation. It starts with a copy of a copy of a copy. Number 1. The eggshells. Blossom end rot is that black, leathery, sunken crater on the bottom of a tomato, and every gardening source in America will tell you it is a calcium deficiency. That part is almost true, and the almost is where everything goes wrong. The fruit is short on calcium. The soil in nearly every American garden is not. Calcium behaves differently from every other nutrient a plant takes up. Nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, the plant spends energy pulling those in. Calcium, it does not. Calcium rides in passively, dissolved in water, carried up through the plant only by transpiration, which is the slow evaporation of moisture out of the leaves on a warm afternoon. Which means calcium only moves when water moves. Let the soil swing from soaked to bone dry and back again, the way a backyard bed does in a hot July, and the water column stutters. The calcium stops arriving at the part of the fruit farthest from the stem. That is the blossom end. That is the rot. The mineral was in the ground the whole time. The delivery truck stopped running, so the eggshells were solving a problem the garden never had. And even if the garden had it, the shells could not have solved it. Research from the University of Illinois found that coarsely crushed shells produced no measurable increase in available soil calcium after an entire growing season. Not a modest increase. None. Eggshell is calcium carbonate, essentially limestone, and limestone does not dissolve on your schedule. Master gardeners in California put it plainly. In dry summer soil, an eggshell can sit there for years. Now, here is the part that explains why the myth refuses to die. Gardeners add eggshells in June. In July, the weather turns warm and steady. Transpiration climbs, calcium starts moving again, and the August fruit comes in clean. And the gardener says, "The eggshells worked. The eggshells did nothing. The weather did it." That is how a myth survives for 100 years. It gets credit for the thing that was going to happen anyway. The real fix costs nothing at all, and we will come back to it, because it also happens to fix 4 other problems on this list. Number 2. The Epsom salt. This one is worse, and I want to be careful about how strong that word is, because it is earned. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. It is sold in the gardening aisle, in a box, with a picture of a tomato on it. Gardeners are told to sprinkle it around plants for greener leaves, more blooms, bigger fruit, and to stop blossom end rot. In 2018, Linda Chalker Scott and a colleague published a Washington State University fact sheet reviewing what the actual literature says about Epsom salt in home gardens. Her conclusion was narrow and unambiguous. There is a case for it in intensive commercial crop production, where a laboratory soil test has confirmed a magnesium deficiency, and someone has done the math. For the average American backyard, there is no case for it. Most soils have plenty of magnesium. Adding more accomplishes nothing. But look at what it is being sold to fix. Blossom end rot. A calcium problem. Epsom salt contains no calcium, and magnesium and calcium compete with each other for uptake at the root. Read that again, because it is the whole point. The product being recommended for your calcium problem is a magnesium product, and magnesium crowds calcium out. The University of Minnesota Extension Service says it directly. Epsom salt will not prevent blossom end rot, and too much magnesium can interfere with the very thing you are trying to deliver. So the gardener sees the rot, adds Epsom salt, sees more rot, adds more Epsom salt. Chalker Scott's own paper on the subject carries a title that names the mechanism better than I could: Miracle, Myth, or Marketing. Nobody had to suppress anything here. Somebody just had to print a tomato on the box. Number 3, and this is the one that turned my stomach, because I had believed it too. Coffee grounds. Everyone knows this one. Coffee is acidic, therefore the grounds are acidic. Therefore dump them around the blueberries and the azaleas and the hydrangeas to sweeten the soil. The first half of that is wrong in a way that is almost funny once you see it. The acid in coffee is water-soluble. Water-soluble means it dissolves in water, which means when you brew a pot of coffee, the acid leaves the grounds and goes into the cup. You drank it. What is left in the filter basket tests between 6.5 and 6.8 on the pH scale. That is essentially neutral. Oregon State University has measured this and published it. Used coffee grounds will not acidify anything. Your hydrangeas are not going to turn blue. Now, the video you probably saw about this will stop right there and tell you the grounds are still wonderful, still full of nitrogen, still worth pouring into the garden. That is where it gets careless. Fresh grounds applied straight to soil do two things. Nobody mentions. They tie up nitrogen. Soil microbes swarm the grounds to break them down, and they pull available nitrogen out of the surrounding soil to do it. For a while, the ground around your plants has less usable nitrogen than it did before you helped, and there is caffeine still in there, up to 8 milligrams per gram. Caffeine suppresses seed germination and slows growth in a range of plants. There is a published paper on this whose title says everything you need to know. Applying spent coffee grounds directly to urban agriculture soils greatly reduces plant growth. Greatly reduces. So the tip is not merely useless. In the form most people are told to use it, it runs backward. And yet the grounds are genuinely useful, which is the frustrating part. In a compost pile, mixed properly, they are excellent. And there is one more thing, which is my favorite fact in this entire story. Oregon State found that a caffeine solution used as a soil drench cleared out slugs completely. Every slug left the treated soil. In one orchid trial, it outperformed a commercial slug bait. Coffee is a slug weapon. It was never a fertilizer. Number 4. The bucket. Onion skins steeped in water. Vegetable scraps left to rot in a pail. Fermented rice water. Manure in an old pillowcase dropped in a barrel. They are all the same thing wearing different hats. They are compost teas. Chalker Scott has an entire series of publications on this, and the title of the series is The Myth of Compost Tea. The Environmental Protection Agency has weighed in on the practice of spraying it as a pest treatment. The claimed benefits, applied to a healthy home garden, mostly do not survive contact with a controlled trial. But the efficacy is not why I am putting it on this list. Nearly every viral recipe tells you to add sugar. Molasses, usually. Blackstrap. Think about what that instruction actually is. You have manure, or rotting vegetable matter, in a bucket of water, sitting in the warm summer air. Now you add a food source and you let the bacteria in it multiply for 3 to 5 days. That is not a fertilizer recipe. That is an incubator. Whatever bacteria were in that material at the start are now in that bucket in vastly greater numbers. And some of the bacteria that live in manure are the kinds that put people in the hospital. Then you pour it on food that you are going to eat. For anyone over 65 whose immune system is not what it was at 40, that is not a theoretical risk. Nobody is trying to hurt you. The person who made that video has almost certainly never thought about it for 10 seconds. They copied it from a video that copied it from a blog. That is the whole disease, right there. Number 5. The banana peel. I will be brief, because this one is simply thin rather than dangerous. Banana peels do contain potassium. That is true. The trouble is that most American garden soil is not short on potassium in the first place, so you are topping up a tank that was already full. And a peel buried whole in the ground is mostly water and fiber. It sits there. It releases very little, very slowly, on a time scale that has nothing to do with rescuing a plant that is failing this week. It is not harmful. It is just not the thing that is going to save the tomato. So what does? Here is what 20 years of extension research keeps landing on, and every single item is either free or nearly free. Water consistently. Not more water. Consistently. Deep and even, on a schedule, so the water column inside the plant never stutters. That single habit is the actual cure for blossom end rot, and it costs nothing but attention. Mulch. 2 to 3 inches of straw or leaves or wood chips over the soil, which holds the moisture steady between waterings and does the same job the watering schedule does while you are asleep. Compost. Real compost, made slowly, turned occasionally, finished properly. This is where the eggshells go. This is where the coffee grounds go. Every one of the 5 things on this list is a good compost ingredient and a bad soil amendment. And that distinction is the entire difference between a garden that works and a garden that disappoints you. And a soil test. $15 or $20 from your county extension office. It is the least glamorous thing in gardening, and it is the highest leverage act available to you because it replaces guessing with knowing. Every myth on this list exists in the gap where a soil test should have been. Chalker Scott published a paper in the Journal of Environmental Horticulture in 2023 on how much water and fertilizer American homeowners waste, and why. The answer is not that people are careless. It is that people are following instructions. The instructions are just wrong. There was no conspiracy here. Nobody sat in a room and decided to take the old knowledge away from you. What happened is quieter and, in a way, sadder. The knowledge was real. Our grandparents were right about compost, right about mulch, right about paying attention to the water. Then somebody flattened all of that into a hack. And that hack got copied, and copied again. And each time it got copied, it got a little more confident and a little less true, until nobody remembered to go back and check it against the soil. Old knowledge did not fail you. The shortcut did. That coffee can on the garage shelf is still there, still full of eggshells, and there is nothing wrong with those eggshells. They just belong in the compost heap, along with the coffee grounds and the banana peels, where they will spend a year quietly becoming the thing that actually feeds the garden. What the tomato needed was never in the can. It was a watering can and 10 minutes of attention 3 times a week. That is the whole secret. It always was. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault. There is a great deal more that was written down, tested and then forgotten, and we are going through it one piece at a time.